You know this is on YouTube now, Ian, right?
Yeah,
like,
but
see,
for those who aren't going to see this, because I'm going to edit this out, Tucker has asked me to start editing, so it's impossible to tell where the ad breaks are. So I'm going to start doing this, so that when I'm going through the editing, I can see, okay, this must be where we're taking the ad break, and I can cut it up. See, I'm smarter than you think I am. Come on.
I did the opposite. I would just because I've edited podcasts too, I'd just be like, so I'd see the audio.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. That's another. Well, I can do that next time. I just felt like this would be less annoying to just do this for 5 seconds.
Probably so.
Ian, everything you do is annoying.
I've picked up on that. You're very upset that I didn't make that last podcast, but very passively. I'm about to talk to Lisa about this. This is a bad trait of yours. Lisa and I will work it out.
We've had a week. I'm just running on fumes, and I'm taking it out on my work wife because I can't take it out on my regular wife.
Smart.
So the dad joke of the week brought to you by Golf Trip Junkie. Now, everybody, as we've talked about this a couple of times, I do a big Ryder Cup event, but not only do I do that, every year I go down to Hilton Head, and this year I'm going down with the one and only Sneaky Jeff, and we're going to play some golf down there. And the only person that I trust to help me put that trip together is Sean at Golf Trip Junkie. You can find him on our link tree under Book My Golf Trip. Make sure that every time, if you do book through him, mention us as well as mention his jet ski, and tell him that living at a lake is not living at the beach. So, Ian, why didn't the skeleton play golf? Allan, do you have an answer for me?
Not good enough to throw it out in the...
Same, that's exactly where I'm at, yeah.
Well, his heart wasn't in it.
Fair enough.
Touche, glad I didn't guess.
Yeah, no chance of it. That was nowhere near that. That's okay. That was a good one.
Should have had it for Halloween.
Yeah, you should. That's true. That's absolutely a Halloween joke. So
yeah, but I'm bad at this, so we're getting it for Christmas.
Fun fact about Sean, he's very sad right now. So I would highly encourage those listening to give him a call. He had to put his jet ski away because he does live in a very cold area. I don't name where he lives because he gets all weird about it. But he's very sad. He's going through the motions. He calls me like 4 times a day right now because he can't jet ski. So cheer him up. Tell him about your favorite jet ski experience when you call him and say that the Dad Golf Podcast sent you.
So, Allan, Ian and Sean have this ongoing debate. If somebody says they're going to the beach, are they going? There's
got to be an ocean involved. There has to be an ocean involved.
Thank you.
You could say I'm going to the lake, right? There's nothing wrong with saying I'm going to the lake, but you can't say I'm going to the beach and mean a lake, right? Yeah. Even if it's a Great Lake.
Totally.
Exactly. I don't know why this is like there are people that will die on a hill that no, it counts as a beach. And I'm like, no. I mean, you're California, I'm Florida. Like, no, we take pride. Like, there's definitely a difference. When you say you're going to the beach, I am not going to a gosh darn lake. That's how you got to make sure I keep it PG. So yeah, he swears on the fact that he lives on the beach. And I'm like, no, you live on a lake with sand.
And you would seem like a psychopath if you're like, oh, I'm going to the ocean today, or I'm going to the sea. Like
exactly.
Exactly. So I live in Virginia, so I have equal drives to everywhere. And if we were going up to Deep Creek, we're going to the lake. If we're going to Colonial Beach, we're going to the river. If you're going down to Virginia Beach, you are actually going to the beach. Or Ocean City, you're going to the beach. It is where the ocean line, where you determine, hey, I am going to... Lakes can have beaches, but you do not go to the beach. Correct. If it is a lake.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Case closed.
I'm glad we solved that. So, Allan, you and I were talking a little bit earlier, and you said your 7-year-old's already playing 18 holes of golf.
Yeah, and can't get enough of it. And I hate to admit this, but he's really into baseball right now, and I coach baseball, and he has this insane uppercut swing, and I think it's developed from golf. Right. So I've had him I haven't been letting him play golf during baseball season, which he's all my friends are you're insane. This is a dream that he wants to do that. But I also want to have him succeed at baseball too, but no, he's 7 and we'll play 18 holes and he's like, let's keep going. He absolutely loves it.
That's the dream right there.
That is the dream.
I will say hold on, Tucker, sorry. I will say that is, I get that people would say that that's not the right thing. I think that is the right thing, because baseball and golf are too similar for you to be doing both at the same time, especially if you're like really playing in season for baseball. You would just hit pop flies, I feel like, every single time. Like you would not. I don't know baseball enough, but I don't know how you can do both.
It goes, like, I want him to love. I think there's no question he's going to love golf and we'll bond over golf forever. But I also want him to have that like team sport element. And I love baseball. I loved baseball growing up. We bond over it. We watch games. So like, I don't want him. I've seen him get deterred when he struggles at the plate. So I prefer to keep seeing him have success until he kind of understands like there's slumps in baseball and it's part of the game. But until he's there, but I digress because season just ended, so we'll be on the golf course real soon.
Love it.
So is that how you try to bifurcate with him, of like, when we're in baseball season, we focus on baseball, and when we're not, we're not? How do you manage that as a father?
I think it was just his, we played so much golf, especially toward the end or like during summer before like fall baseball started. So his swing was just like, even his golf swing's a little messed up because I had him hit driver a lot. So he kind of hits up on the ball, like trying to lift it. So I think that mindset happened within baseball and he had that same swing flaw. And it makes it really difficult as a hitter just because your bat isn't in the swing plane's not in line with the ball. So you have a really small opportunity to hit the ball. So I think once he kind of gets his baseball swing grooved, I'll be more willing to let him play golf during baseball season. I mean, he's 7. Like, I just want him to have fun.
Yeah.
But again, I also don't want him to get discouraged and want to quit the sport. So that was the purpose of this season. I'm hoping we can play golf year round during baseball, but just for the time being, it was the executive decision I made.
I love it. I mean, that's the beauty of being a parent too, right? Like, everyone can have their opinion on it, but at the end of the day, you know your kid, right? And if he's getting discouraged, he's not playing well at baseball. Well, how do we get baseball up and running? Well, we probably need to cut out something that's hurting it. But I think that people who listen to the pod know this, but I'll just tell you, is I started to love golf actually because of baseball. Like, I watched it was when Sammy Sosa and McGuire were going back and forth doing the home runs and getting to 70 or whatever the number they got to or whatever. And I would just hit driver. And like, that was my way. I didn't play baseball, but I wanted to be a baseball player on the golf course. So, I'm sure your kid does the same thing. You want to tee it up and just hit home runs, right? So it's cool how sports just overlap just by sheer exposure to both games.
It's fun to see ball go far.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best. And that has not changed. Even as an adult, that's still the same.
Speaking from somebody that doesn't hit it out of his shadow, and I say that as somebody who also doesn't hit it out of his shadow.
For me, it goes far. I don't care if yours goes farther.
Allan, how did you? I mean, a 7-year-old wanting to play 18 holes of golf is obviously, most parents listening to this would be actually fairly jealous of that. How did that relationship start? Where he developed that? Was that something you saw at an early age? Was that something, or was it, I don't know the answer here. So
it was meticulously crafted, and it was really tough because I think like I forced it on him a little bit too much in the beginning, like getting the plastic clubs and like, hey, hit this, and like he really wanted no part of it. And then we're at a club in Southern California and he can get out there for free, and so I'd take him out and he'd just get so frustrated from like up until I think like age 6 even. And honestly, I think I mentioned it's kind of like a multi-pronged approach. So like I created this kid's book, and while I was developing it, I would read it to him a lot. So he was kind of hearing more about golf, and like, it kind of paints a picture of what golf is, even though it's like just telling a story. Another big kicker was I got a like Mario golf game, or maybe my sister got it for him, but it's fun because it's like kind of arcadey, but it's still like it's like birdie and all these things pop. It's like playing the slot machines, you know, like it makes all the sounds and all that stuff. He's just like, oh, birdie, this is great. So he got really into like understanding the game through video game golf. And then the last big thing that hooked it on him. So we'd go play golf. I'd have him hit shots, and he would kind of like hit them poorly. But the thing that like really set it over the top was on the way to the course. I'm like, look, we're gonna play the golf course today. So like whatever par is, we're gonna double it, and we're gonna play alternate shot and try to beat the course. So like he would tee off, and we'd tee off from like the blue tees, and then it might go like 50 yards, but then I can get it down there pretty close to the green. Whatever he does, like, you know, we have 8 shots to try to beat the course, and he was just like, oh, is this to win this hole or whatever? So it like kind of got him in that competitive aspect of golf, which you really don't get to experience until you've like been an avid golfer for a while in most cases. So like I think him just like turning it into playing a game as opposed to just like playing golf swing or trying to find success at something that's really hard for a kid, making it seem obtainable and like really fun, really set him over the edge. But now that it sucks, because when I want to go play my own ball and stuff, he's like, let's play alternate shot. Like, I want to play on your team. It's just like, ugh, I want to play my own ball.
Yeah. No, I think that look, that's genius, that finding, you know, a way to, you know, really bond, because a lot of the time, look, all they want to do is bond with their dad, right, or their mom, if you're listening to this, and finding a way to do a team event and essentially in a sport that's really not kind of teamy in a sense is, I haven't heard that one yet, so that's good. I like that.
Yeah, I think just seeing the reaction, like kids coaching sports and stuff too, they feed so much off. Like they can tell when parents are like, good job, or like, oh my God, like, I can't believe you did that. So like having those moments on the golf course, like I want to, even as adults, we hit shots and dudes are like, oh my God, awesome shot. That's like a tour caliber shot. And it makes you feel great. And I think kids feel the same way when you're not like, good job, buddy, but like, whoa, dude, unreal. Right. Great job.
Yeah. My kids, just like yours, it sounds like, with zero interest in the plastic club scene. And so all I've been doing is like just taking them on. They love riding in the golf cart, right? So we start with that. And then, you know, and the last time, I haven't been able to play golf recently because we just moved, but the last time was taking Thomas the Train and driving Thomas the Train into the cup, right? So then it's like, okay, and then the next step is putting the ball in the cup. And it's like, you know, any exposure is good exposure, but if you can get him hooked, I mean, at 7 years old, it sounds like he is really hooked. That is amazing. That's like my dream. If my son is saying, I want to play more than 18 holes, I will kiss the ground. I will be so happy.
That makes daycare a lot
real
easier.
Quick, hate to make you do more editing work, but my laptop's about to die. I got to run and grab my cord real quick.
No worries.
Fine. Go for
it. Sorry, I'll be right back.
This is Hambino territory.
This is how I know that we got a spot to edit. It's genius.
So I'm just sending you video stuff now, and then you're just gonna do it.
I told you I would do it. You just need to send it to me, and I'll do it.
Yeah, I literally, like, the last 6 days have, like, it's been just disaster.
Yeah, I feel it.
Like, even just getting to a computer has been like a massive headache. So yeah,
I bet. Well, if I can help, you tell me.
No, the video editing helps a lot, to be honest, because it's just I don't know what it is with my laptop. It just dumps.
All right, sorry, dudes.
You're good.
Yeah. So I have a question that I can then lead into here,
Go
Ian.
for it.
So like if we just go like 4, 3, 2. So Allan, when you're talking about that stuff, you know, I would ask, how do you as a parent like keep yourself from projecting the things that you want out of like a sport for your kid? Right. How do you check your own emotions, I guess, versus maybe what they want? Maybe you're bad at it, and like that's fair too. But you know, I think that's one of the things that all dads worry about.
Yeah, it's tricky, especially with like a golf background and being in another sport. I'm sure you guys could kind of see where I'm coming from. But, golf, you can get very technical about swings and like swing planes, but like playing basketball and baseball growing up, it wasn't very technical. Like sometimes the coach would be like, hey, do this. So I think my golf background made me really technical with my coaching. And sometimes it's a really finicky thing because there's like, you can properly coach kids and they could learn something and perform like immensely better. Like I can see flaws that I'm just like, oh my God, this is killing you. But if you push too hard on it and it's too hard, it could just like ruin the experience altogether.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just like, you just got to make sure they're having fun. Like that's the biggest takeaway. Because if they're not having fun, they're gonna quit. Like you got to make everything fun no matter what. So that's where it's just like, if I'm ever getting the sense of like this is turning into a negative experience for them, I got to back off.
So you say your kid has had like, not tantrums in a sense. I forgot the exact word you used, but when he's playing baseball and he's struggling. Have you experienced that yet on the golf course, or is this just related to baseball? And if it is on the golf course, what do you just like say, hey, take the hole off, or like how do you handle that when it's happening on the golf course?
Yeah, he'll say like, oh, I'm horrible, or that was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's even something like in my own golf game, it's just like the more you play, the more you understand it's really difficult. It's just like, hey man, you're trying to do something that's really hard, and like overall you're much better than I don't know if it's a good way to like put other people down, but I think just stressing that like what you're trying to do is really hard, and like that's why I love golf. Like I love that it's hard and it's a challenge, but you
Right.
can't speak. This is a game about like positive thinking more than anything. So like when you hit bad shots, like give yourself a little like grace and forgiveness, So it's kind of it's good to see it from a parent too. Like coaching and interacting with kids in this environment is like a really healthy exercise for yourself as well, because it kind of like it shows you how you treat yourself on the course too, and how you shouldn't do that and how it can negatively impact your game. So when those moments come up again, it's just kind of like making it fun and making them understand it's hard. And since we've started making golf challenging and like making it like a team thing where if he hits a bad shot, it's not the end of the world because I can go and hit a good shot. So it's just like, don't put them in stressful situations they can't really handle yet.
So, Allan, let me ask you. It sounds like you have a big baseball background. That's a sport that maybe even a lot better than golf, because you said even going to TaylorMade you were 20 handicap. Do you find, right? Baseball's a sport that if you fail 60% of the time, you're a Hall of Famer, right? Like, do you? But I'm just being honest there, right? Like, if you're a 287 batting average and playing the league for 20 years, right, in your starter, you're a Hall of Famer. Do you find that kind of mentality and that experience through baseball actually helps you with golf and helps him with golf by chance?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say because like at its core, it's still just a game. Like, yeah, baseball
Sure.
is hard, but I think the parallel there is like seeing a bat, like squaring up a baseball is a pretty similar experience to squaring up a golf shot, and it's like such a good feeling. Even when it doesn't happen that often, it's just so rewarding. But like he plays soccer, he plays basketball. I think there's a lot of failure in that, especially for a kid. Like one of my proudest moments of a dad was him trying to make a basket on like a full-size hoop. Like the dude missed like 50 shots in a row, but he was really close, and just being so close, like just kind of keeping at it. And then like he finally did it. It's just like, oh, any other human being would have walked away from this so long ago. So he has that like want to succeed in difficult things. And I think it's just more about that. I think baseball players, golfers, I think a lot of baseball players play golf because it's that same satisfaction of conquering something that's really hard. And I think kids start to see that at a really young age.
I'm glad you fall on the side of let them play other sports, because I think the worst thing in the world to do for a little kid is to sit there, and I think there's so much pressure around them even at like 9 or 10 years old to be like specialists in a sport. And I think that's honestly, from an athletic standpoint, like I get the pressure and like, the recruiting now, like USC signed like a 12-year-old a couple of years ago. Um, I think that's the worst thing we do to our kids when it comes to athletics. The proof's in the pudding for injuries, right? Like ACL and MCL injuries are way higher, like statistically higher if you're a one sport athlete versus a multi-sport athlete. So from an injury perspective, but from the enjoyment perspective, especially 7, 8, 9, 10, they shouldn't look at sport as I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. They should look at sport as this is something fun that I do and I'm kind of good at it. And if I work and teach those life lessons of like you work hard, you get better at it, but not an aspect of like, hey, you're 6, time to start playing baseball full time.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Even my son, like, I loved baseball and I wanted him to play baseball really bad. And he really enjoyed soccer because he's pretty good at it. And then with basketball, he's pretty solid as well. And he was like starting to hate baseball because the swing was so messed up. He wasn't hitting to the point, like, he told me one day, he's like, I hate baseball. Like, I want to quit baseball, which was devastating to me because I loved the sport so much and I really wanted to like bond over it. And then I'll never forget this ever. He was playing shortstop and like, I think it was maybe just past T-ball, but some kid roped a line drive at him and he like caught it on the fly, which never happens for like T-ball. Like no one catches a fly ball, but then instinctually, like they don't know how to play ball either. So the kid at first like took off. And even though he caught it, he just like ripped the ball over to first because he thought that's what you do when you get the ball. And so he doubled up the kid that let off, and like coaches on both sides were just like, "Oh my god, great play!" Dude, like running out, like, "Oh my god!" And his look in his eye, just like, "This is the greatest thing in the world." And now it's like when he wakes up in the morning, all he does is watch baseball highlights from like the previous night. Every time I come home from work, he's like, "Let's play catch." Like he just bleeds baseball because of that one moment now. So there's so much that kids like, for a kid to nail down a sport really young like that, like so much can change. Your best friend could be into another sport, like whatever they want to do. It's just like, to play, I would be so happy if he got to high school level for any sport, let alone like trying to play pros. And I feel like so many parents are just like, my kid's so good, I'm gonna make him a professional, where it's just like not realistic in the least bit.
Yeah. No, I grew up playing every sport. And you see it now, like there was like what Tucker's saying, there was that trend of like you have to play one sport, you have to focus on this. And I know there are other schools that have changed as well, but I'm just going to speak from experience. Like the coach from Florida State now, like specifically looks for multi-sport athletes. Like he wants you involved in wrestling or basketball, right? But wrestling or basketball, like something that also translates to football. Like you see a lot of people who play soccer because now they have good footwork, and these guys now 300 pounds with that footwork can just dominate. Like Aaron Donald is a freak soccer player, but he also is now a freak football player. So I'm glad that died. Like that, I don't feel like anyone does that anymore. But in the benefit too of like you mentioned earlier, team sport, right? You don't do team sports in golf for the most part. I know golf's trying to kind of get into a team sport again. But like golf teaches you how to penalize yourself and you're on your own and you got to figure this out on your own. And then on the team aspect of you bond, rely on others, like you having that mixture is perfect for when you're talking about raising a kid, you get the best of both worlds. You need that. Like, why would you just say, go play golf? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Golf, especially, golf or gym. My wife's into gymnastics, like having an individual sport where everything's focused on you in terms of like coaches, parents, performance, like that's a lot for a kid to handle. So it's really good to get that exposure of like just being on a team and like giving some stuff up to trust others to find success. Like those are really important skills to have, even on the golf course.
For sure.
I think baseball, from a team sport perspective, though, if you're going to play a sport and go into like a complementary sport for golf, I think personally baseball is great. One, it teaches speed, right? You can't teach, like I've tried, Ian and I have both tried this. You can't teach bat speed. right? Like it's something that you just work on as a kid, and it translates really well to golf speed down the road, because while it's a different plane, it's still the same rotational capability, right? And still that same squaring up. But secondly, from a mentality standpoint, baseball is the one team sport that you can't hide behind a team, right? Like outside of maybe a quarterback in football, right? Like you're playing a team sport, yes, but pitcher's an individual, batter's an individual. Catcher, if you're sitting there catching, right, you're making individual mistakes. When the ball's in the air or on the ground, right, your fielding is very individualized, where it's like are you making a mistake? Or are you not making a mistake? Where like things like football and things like basketball, they're not that heightened scrutiny that you get at a baseball level, which from a mentality standpoint, I think if you're teaching your kid, if I had to pick, for instance, a sport that my son had to play in complement to golf, I want my kid to play golf, to be honest with you. But I'm not a baseball fan, to be very clear. I don't like the sport from a perspective of the ranking of hierarchy. I'm a bigger soccer fan, bigger football fan. But if I'm going to pick a sport that I want my kid to play in conjunction with golf, it's 100% baseball.
Yeah, and I feel you too. Like even like I love football, but I don't know if I want my son's head getting like smashed up in high school and stuff.
My kid's
too.
not
It's
playing
like
football.
I know.
I already
It's
told
yeah.
him. Yeah.
Even watching
Yeah.
too, sometimes it's just like, man, these dudes like again, super entertaining, love the sport, but there's the dudes that are just like borderline dying out there. It's like, man, this is getting intense.
For
So
sure.
let's do this. We're gonna do one more ad break. We're gonna come back, and I really want to talk about, your guys' product, because we've have a lot of great content tonight, but we're here to support you. So we want to talk about, a little bit about the book, where to find you all, and where to buy it. But we will be right back after.